Hey, how are you? I'm still going through looking for stuff to show off for the for this impromptu class. I think this one might work. Yeah, yeah, perfect, perfect. Okay, yeah, I'll keep this handy because I may just in fact need it. You never do know. So I was over on Facebook, and this fella asks, and let me see what he asks. I gotta pull this one up. Let's see. So for P, N, D, and Q, so that'd be pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. Which years should one hoard? And his example is 1983 quarters. Okay, I'm jumping around, so give me a minute. I gotta find the screen again. Here's the screen. Yep, and there's this thing. Yeah, there's more going on behind the scenes than you can see on your screen. Oh, good morning, Liz. There's Liz digging Canucks. She's got a great show on Sunday mornings. I caught the tail end of it this week. Sorry, I meant to be there earlier. I slept in. Saturday night, I wasn't feeling up to par. Sunday night, just forget it. Had a pounding headache and just went to bed. Well, it's time to make up for it and have an impromptu coin class. So the fellow asks, "What coin should I hoard?" Really, let's examine that question further because a lot of new collectors uh, don't have the information that they need to make a good informed decision, and a lot of times they waste their time collecting things that aren't really collectible. But well, eventually, hopefully they'll learn stuff, and then they can go back through what they have and say, okay, I can spend all this stuff. Uh, so let's take a look at some things, right? We've got all kinds of things out there in circulation. You got maybe some Ikes you can get at the bank, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. There's half dollars. Uh, what dates would be more important? You're looking at rarity, for example. Uh, Honestly, I've got the coin collector checklist up here somewhere. Let me pull that up. There it is. And I gotta give you the screenshot of that. Let's see if we can see that. There we go. Coin collector checklist. And I've got Lincoln cents showing here. And we've got mintages of 6 billion in 1979 just at Philadelphia. 4.4 billion. 1982 is a heck of a date. You got 10 billion pennies. That's just made of San Francisco. That's just Philadelphia. 10 billion. You got 16 billion between the P and the D. 16 billion. Let's do some math real quick. Okay, if we got 16 billion pennies, 100,000 million billion, and divide that by, what do you say, 350 million people? And not all that many people are going to collect the coins anyway. That works out to almost a roll for everybody. These will never, ever be worth anything more than face value because they made so darn many of them. Rarity is a key to the value of a coin. And what should you hoard, or why should you hoard it? Because you have an expectation that there would be an increase in value over time. But honestly, your total just for Lincolns, you got 500 billion of them have been produced. Gosh, some say to collect, save up those 2009s. So I added those up for the Philadelphia, there we go, Philly and Denver mints, excluding the Satins and the proofs, right? And I still come up with 2.3 billion produced just in 2009. People say to hoard those because, it's lower mintage. Well, it's lower relative mintage. I mean, the year before, you had 2.8 billion at Denver, 2.5 billion at Philly. The year after, okay, they're cranking them up again, 4.5 billion. So 2009, yeah, it was a kind of an economic slump that year. They didn't need as many pennies, and it applies to the rest of the denominations as well. Where's the Jeffersons? Here you go. Let's look at those. 2009, there's a neat one, 40 million. That's not so many when the year before you had 345 million. The year after, 260. Well, plus the D, so that's 400 and that's 500 million of the darn things. But for 2009 for the nickels, well, it's kind of a better date because the relative mintages were low. It was a slump in the economy. Are they worth saving? Well, honestly, you can't find the darn things anyway because somebody's hoarding the darn things. those 2009 nickels are just plain hard to find, but you can find them. I actually got my first ones not too long ago. Blues Coins sent me one of each. Let's look at the Roosevelt dimes here, right? Excuse me. Same idea. Hundreds of millions produced each year. Hundreds of millions. 1982, you got a billion of those. All right. 92D, over a billion. Huh? How's this working? Let's look at the quarters here. Now, 1983 was a neat year because, well, they didn't make any mint sets that year. And you're going to find that the 1983, the P and the D quarters, they just weren't saved in any sort of volume in brilliant condition. So those kind of they're starting to gain a little bit of value in high grade. But honestly, you got 673 and 600, 1 point, let's see, 7, 8, 1.8, no, a lot. It's like 1.2 billion, 1.3 billion of the darn things. The highest grades perhaps might be considered a conditional rarity, where there aren't that many that were saved out in superior grade or an uncirculated condition. Condition and rarity, that's what gives a coin value. But if you're going to just save coins or hoard coins based on the date, you're probably going to be disappointed that they're not going up in value when they're circulated, they have marks, they're damaged. We got some over here I can probably show you here. Where's this thing? Home. There we go. Where's that roll? Here's a brand new roll of pennies, and I can open that up, and I would be hard-pressed to get high-end coins out of there. And these went from the mint into a big bag. They went out to the rolling company and rolled up and then delivered to the bank and still sit in that original roll. And honestly, I've gone through these on air. I need a way to open this. Wait for it. I got piles of these. And a key indicator your coin is not rare is when you have piles of them. So if you're going to hoard a coin, if there's something out there that you can gather in a hoard, I figure it's probably not all that rare. Here we go. These are brand spanking new, just a couple years old, but if I take a good close-up look at those, I'm going to find marks all over the place. What makes them more valuable is not, the date so much as the condition. Let's put one under the scope and tear that apart. Ready? Here it is. 2016. I just went through a roll of these. And I got a pointer over here somewhere. Let's zoom up just a bit. I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so I really don't have much of a script. Okay, what do you got for, you got spots, right, all over the place. You're going to find some contact marks here on the chin. All right, what do you got in the back? Again, spots, little scuff marks where they contacted other coins. There's one over here in this corner. Those little bits, right, these little tiny blemishes greatly remove the value on these coins. It doesn't take much. Now I'm going to take it over to PCGS and see what we're talking about there. Here's the screen again. All right, PCGS, I had it up here. There, I got Jefferson nickels showing. And for certified examples, these are going to be your higher grade coins. And I've got mint straight coins, not business, not proofs, not satins, nothing special about these. These are just regular old run-of-the-mill business strikes. And it is the top most grades are the only ones that are really going to have the value, right? Perhaps they have full steps, that'll help, but well, the technology to produce these things in great shape has improved. So as you get into the 80s and then the 90s, full steps doesn't really matter so much because they all have full steps or darn near full steps. But if you take a look here, 67, that's MS67, very good shape, not perfect by any means. They tend to be few and far between. Here's one, MS68. We better look at this because not a lot of them get that darn nice. 94, there's a couple of perfect examples out there. Let's open that up and see what we got. Here's a 1994 nickel. You got beautiful steps on there. This is a business strike. You can find these in circulation, but to find these in circulation with no blemishes, with no marks, no spots, not screwed up, good, crisp, sharp strikes, that gets hard, right? So you get 722 million of these produced. But the high grades, the cream of the crop, the tip top, what do you got? Can we see the whole screen? Let me move this. I got to scroll down a little and shove this over. Here you go. 2 out of 722 million. MS69, you got 2. What makes those valuable is not the date, which is pretty darn common, but the high condition. And really, you're going to be hard-pressed to get coins out of circulation that are as good as MS65, which is way back here. Okay, most of the stuff you get out of bank rolls might be 63 if they're brand spanking new, still in the rolls, right? But 65 gets tough, 66 even tougher. Okay, so it's not the date that matters so much. I took a look at the pennies, and I've got them over here. Let me see if I can find the pennies. That's nickels. Okay, where's the pennies? There we go. And it took all the dates from 1909 all the way up to, well, like last year. I think I'm missing a couple of dates for, for recent, where are you here? Yeah, I'm missing a couple of the Mintage figures from San Francisco in 2009. Okay, but the rest of them are in here, right? PDS, the proofs, the Satins, all the weird stuff. And I put them in a spreadsheet and did a graph, which is gone. There we go, and did a graph so we can look at the mintage over time on these things, okay? And I'm going to zoom that all the way out, zoom. Okay, this is as close as we can get to all the way out. And I'm going to shift you over again. Okay, and over on the left here, this is going to be the 1909. Over on the right, well, that's going to be 2017. And this is what it looks like. Up here, this long red line, this is going to be 1982, where they had so darn many of them produced. Gosh. So if you're going to save them by date, rarity is everything. And so then we're looking down here at the bottom. 2009 kind of spreads it out because you got type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, plus the proofs, plus the Satins, also in type 1, 2, 3, or 4. But if you add these together, yeah, it's way up here. So it's a little bit better of a date, but you're still looking at 2 billion of the darn things. You'd have to go back. Oh, I want to zoom in. Which button is that one? Here it is. You'd have to go back before World War II, right? And that's right around where it starts to pick up. Now, it's a wartime economy really gave it a boost here. Is that the 1 billion mark? Let me see if I can click on that. I can't click on that. Okay, what number is this? That's like 1 billion over there. Okay, that's 2 billion. So this right here, this is 1945, this peak. Honestly, anything after World War II, they produce in such numbers, such immense volumes of the darn things, because the economy was so much stronger, that there really aren't any rare coins in circulation that were produced since the war. You go before the war, well, it starts to get a little bit better, right? Let me zoom in, keep on zooming in. It gets a little bit better. But even here, you got, 150 million, right? You got to zoom in all the way, and you'll start to see these little bits show up down at the bottom. These would be the early map proofs. We can zoom over here to the right, and we start to see these little dots starting to show up, and these are the proof strikes. We can zoom in just about all the way. A little more, a little more. I got a little more. Boy, that's a lot of clicking. And there we go. That's as zoomed in as I can get. These little tiny spots, that's 4 million, 4 million, right? After, let's see, the mid-90s, they started to decline. So you're down around 1 million on some of these modern proofs. Honestly, they're very, they're kind of common. at 4 million. Maybe you should hoard those. Well, you don't have 4 million collectors. That's the thing. You got a lot of people that will grab these coins up, and they're neat. They don't know about them, but boy, they sure do look nice, and they give them to their kids or grandparents or uncles or cousins or friends as a gift, and that's wonderful. It's a great way to use the proofs. And proofs, I think, are they're a doorway into the more rare coins. And it's really neat. If you look close in here, you're going to see from 2005 through 2010, we've got a second tiny little line. Those are the Satins. Kind of neat. Yeah, and of course that second line dries up after 2010 because they stopped making the Satins. Huh. So what do we got of things we can collect? What should we hoard? Let's go back home. There. This stuff people don't know about, and they are less common. I can't say rare because their mintages are still in, the hundreds of thousands or more. But you got, let's see, where's that one I had? This one, Blues Coin sent that one in. All right. He had actually won one of these on the big show. So I sent him one the same week he sent me one. And that, if we take it out and have a look, this is one of the W quarters. You get a bunch of quarters that are made starting this year at the West Point Mint. See the little W there? You probably can't. Right there, W. They made 2 million of these, and they got 5 different designs, so 10 million in all. We'll collect them all is the idea. And this is having some FaceTime on magazines and newsprint, and even a couple of clips on the evening news. So they've been properly announced to the world. I can show you here up close. A lot of times the mint doesn't really. There's your W. That means West Point, and you can find these in circulation. The mint doesn't often look. They're in the business of making coins, not marketing hamburgers, so they don't often get the word out on what they're doing and what they're making, and geez, what's scarce. And the W's, well, they're less common. It'd be a while before you start getting into the scarce or rare category. But at a couple million, yeah, people know about these and they want them because, well, they've heard about it, which is great. But you're still looking at mintages of 2 million per design. And this one is the Lowell quarter. There it is, Lowell, Massachusetts, 2019. And you got this girl looking at this giant round thing. We think it's a loom. I don't know. I don't know tech stuff. Okay. At 2 million, you're better than the proofs. Proofs are great. I got no problem with proofs. Here's one. Let's look at a proof set. Okay, they make the proof sets. I've been making these for decades, right? After the mid-90s, they started to decline. And these are specially produced, right? The dies are specially prepared. The planchets are specially prepared. So you have a coin that is of superior quality and luster and sharpness of strike. There they are. And these are designed for collectors. Well, a lot of collectors want to collect everything besides just the proofs. They want all the business strikes too. What's a mintage on that one for 96? I'd have to look it up. And unfortunately, I've got it right here. I can look it up. Let's see. It's on my screen. 1996. Proof. 2.5 million. So 2.5 million of these sets were made. So you get 2.5 million pennies, 2.5 million nickels, 2.5 million half dollars. All of them proof. 1996, San Francisco. Well, 2.5 million is a little more populous than the W's, but the proofs have been in decline for the past few years. I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. I've got this cold, so give me one moment while I take care of that. Thank you. It's a man cold. It's real tough. Then you got mint sets, okay? And These are just business strikes that have been scooped out of the bin and put together into sets. Now they're going to be uncirculated, which is all well and good, but it doesn't mean they're of superior quality. They'll be not unlike the roll that you get at the bank that has all brand new pennies. Now, in 1983, they didn't produce mint sets, and not a lot of the quarters in particular were kept out in these fresh rolls, in the original bank bags and original bank rolls. So those 1983 P&D quarters in superior grade start to bring in a little. But once they're circulated, the value drops off to a quarter pretty darn fast. Now, one change in 2005, and I've got a set right here. There we go. They produced their mint sets, and they struck these coins specially, right? Now here, the dies were better prepared, and the planchets were burnished. Okay, so you have this effect where the coin disperses the light. It's a different finish than a regular business strike, and it's not a proof finish. They are distinctive. And in 2005 through 2010, the mint sets are called Satin. So you have a satin finish. Now 2005 was the most populous, and that had a mintage. Let me pull that up here real quick. Let's see. I'll give you the screen here. Here's the screen. 2005, the Satin's 1.16 million. Not a whole lot. You get the whole darn set. Sometimes sets have been pulled apart, and you can get individual coins, and you get them for like $1, right? Honestly, I think these are terrifically undervalued given their low mintage and distinctive appearance. But each year, they tended to make less. Well, the mint's having trouble marketing their mint sets because they've been putting together a shoddy product for so darn long. So 2006, it dropped to 847. A little bit better in 2007 at 895,000 of these sets. All right, 2008, 745. 2009, 784. 2010, that's the winner at, let's see, 583,000 of the sets. Maybe those are worth hoarding. I suspect these are undervalued, and over time, as they gain the publicity they need, but were not given at the time of release, I suspect these will appreciate to some degree. Now another one to grab up. Let me fix my screen and catch up with where I am. Here's home. There we go. Here's another one, right? 2012. The mint started producing uncirculated S mints, right, at San Francisco. Here's a 2013, right, and that's another S mint uncirculated clad quarter. Now, before 2012, they only made proofs from 1968 forward at the San Francisco Mint, but here we have an S uncirculated quarter. Now, the mintage on these depends on the particular series, right? What do you got here? 1.6 million. All right, 2015. Again, they're also declining in production. The Saratoga quarter has a mintage of 888,000. That's half of what the W quarters go for. Perhaps those should be hoarded. I'd grab them up if I were you. Okay, I'm going to grab over to chat and catch up because I know people are watching. Let me hit some buttons here. There's a whole bunch of people watching. Good morning, Silver Nitrate, D. Reeves, Jeff Stanley. I've been killing it with hoarding those Satin mint sets. Seriously, the 2005 mint sets, they're $10, $12, somewhere around there, right? They come in this great box. Check this out. If it's an unopened box, the only way you can tell the date is look at the code over here above the barcode. U05, U06, U07, 8, 9, and U10. That's it. Otherwise, you know, it's just a brown box. There's nothing particular about this box. There it is. Brown box with a barcode. No writing on the sides, nothing. But inside you have all the love you'd expect. If you get them really fresh, they've got the, look, U.S. Mint styrofoam. Otherwise, you have these two packages, which will be the P and the D, right? There they are. 2010, you have the lowest mintage, and you also have the only date that has satin state quarters. Because in 2010, of course, they had switched over to the no, not the satin state quarters, the satin ATB. Well, that's kind of neat. So you can't get a complete set of state quarters in satin, and for the ATB quarters, you can only get the one date, 2010. There it is. And you can get these quarters for, $2 a piece. But as far as what you can pull out of pocket change that is going to appreciate over time, anything after World War II, you'll be hard pressed to see it unless it's in the absolute best grade. And determining that, you might want to have more experience in grading high-end coins. Oh, geez. Then you got the weird stuff. What do you got here? You got Ikes. Now, Ikes have been around since the 70s. They started making these in 1970, right? And they made hundreds of millions of the darn things. But let's face it, they're big, they're giant. Look at that. It's like the size of a plate. I think they're wonderful coins. I love the reverse design. Ike, well, he wasn't much to look at, but he was a pretty nice guy. He was probably the most liked president of all time. Seriously, his approval ratings were in the 88th percentile. They liked Ike. He gave us highways, brought an end to the World War. Great guy. Oh, what do you got after that? That awful thing. Where is she? Oh, here you go. Try these. Have I got one? I don't have one. Not here. Okay, you got NAFCs. I'm using this as an example. This is actually a proof. But on the half dollars, starting in 2002, they stopped producing half dollars for circulation because nobody uses the darn things. A lot of Vegas casinos still use them for their crap machines. But a lot of the dates from 2002 onward, you only have mintages of a couple of million. Well, there's a neat thing. They call them NIFC, not intended for circulation, but they still work their way into circulation. 2 million apiece, that's the same as the W quarters. Where'd that W go? I lost it. Here's one. Don't touch the camera. You get the same mintage as those W quarters, except in half dollars, and still they, the circulated pieces draw, $1. Maybe $2, $2, $3 for an uncirculated condition NIFC. Meanwhile, you got the W quarters going for 10, 20, $30. Huh. Does any of this make sense? A lot of it has to do with the hype that a coin gets when it's produced. Where's that awful thing? Here it is. After the Ikes, you got the Sea Hag. Isn't she beautiful? Man, I just love waking up to her in the morning and saying, "You look great today, baby." Oh, Jesus. Now, it takes about 40 years for a coin to become numismatically interesting, right? And these have been out for, well, pretty much 40 years. 1979, that was 40 darn years ago. These SBAs were meant to replace the Ike dollars. I'll take it out. We can't see a thing. And the whole idea at the time was it's smaller, it's lighter, they're easy to carry in your pocket, and they've been trying for decades to get a dollar coin that people will use in vending machines. Well, look, I can carry $1 in my pocket, and you got these things where the vending machines will accept a dollar bill. Why am I going to let five of these rattle around my pocket? All right. Well, there was a lot going on when they tried to bring this coin out. And one interesting aspect was the rim on these. Scope. Here we go. We can see that rim. There you go. Well, now they're going to try to help out the blind people. And so you got this one entire lobby saying, we need, a multi-sided edge on the coin so blind people can tell this apart between, is it $1 or is it a quarter? All right, but then the vending machines companies came in and said, no, it's going to be round so it'll go down the machines and work properly, won't get hung up. So they came up with this idea of having a multi-sided on the inside of the rim. You ever grab one of these and try to decide if that's you know, a quarter or a dollar by trying to feel the inside of the rim and see if it's multi-sided. Dude, no. I'm lucky to pick up the coin. You think I'm going to be able to feel the coin? No. So it became unpopular with, well, pretty much every single person in the entire world except for Mr. B. Anthony. Beth is here. Good to see you, dear. All right. So what should you hoard? If the whole idea is to gather coins that are going to be worth more in the future, you'd want to have something that's rare or extremely high grade or numismatically important. And for business strikes, since the 40s, that's not going to be too many. Ikes and SBAs are doing okay. Sometimes you can go to the bank and get those for face value. Now, Ikes, you can get these at the bank for $1 if they have them. Chances are they don't have them. And they're selling for $1.25 to $1.50. Seriously, if you can get them from the bank in good quantity, snatch them up, man, because you can probably pick up a 20% return on your investment in short order if you have a market developed. Otherwise, you're taking them to a dealer and he'll give you $1, maybe $1.10. Okay, the nose is calling again. One moment, please. There it is. But the volume in which these items were produced suggests that the value isn't going to climb very high very fast. Another 50 years down the road, yeah, they might go for $2 or $3, especially if they get rid of coinage altogether by then. Are coins useful or valuable? What can we find in circulation that's worth a damn? You see the shows, they're searching through the half dollars and they're pulling out the silver and they hold it up and say, hey man, look, we got some silver coinage. All right, let's cover that real quick. Where do we go? I got some here. There we go. Those Kennedys, right? From, you know, they started making them in '64 and they were 90% silver that year. They switched and got rid of all the silver, but they kept it in the Kennedys. So your dimes, nickels, no, dimes, quarters, yeah, those went to a clad, there we go, composition. That's got that copper line in between. It's a copper core clad with nickel on the outside. But for the half dollars, they use a 40% silver, and it's still clad, but it's 40% silver. Let's see if we can see the rim on that. Ta-da! There it is. And that's the easiest way to tell is, well, just look at the darn thing. And it does have lines because you got a clad layer in the center on the outside. But overall, it's 40% silver. But it doesn't have that brown copper layer. Okay, the 64s and earlier, they're going to be 90%. And they're probably good for 12, 13 times face value. What is that? Oh, it's my finger. Here, we'll put that down and let you look at that instead. All right. The 40%, well, they're worth about 40% as much. You figure, you know, 4, 5, maybe 6 times face value, depending on the spot price of silver. Now, if you can find some 70Ds, that's a different kind of thing altogether, because those, while they're 40% silver, those were only available in mint sets. Try that one out. And then by 71, they were all clad and been that way ever since, except for some 40%ers on Bicentennial issues, and then some silver starting in 92 that are 90%. But those are only the proofs. And then they changed that to 99% for this year. Oh gosh, keeping track of all this is just a bear. You just got one? Woohoo! Okay, here's one. Do you hoard these special designs? There you go. You got the Ike over here. He's got the eagle on the back. They're in the Bicentennial. They made, have we got one here? I should have one here. I can't tell if I don't see anything. No, that's another folder. Here we go. Here we go. I got this. This is perfect. This is just the stuff lying on the desk. Linda Wallace had sent in some of these. She makes these beautiful necklaces. Dum-da-dum. But this one in particular is a Kennedy half dollar from 1976. Well, here's a neat thing because it's a it's a single-use design for a single date during the Bicentennial, and you have the quarters with the drummer. You got the half dollars with Independence Hall here, and you got the Ikes with the Liberty Bell on the back. Screen. No, that's the wrong button. Scope. There it is. So there's Independence Hall. Isn't that a great coin? Great design. They used this years before in a commemorative half dollar. Thing is with these on the Bicentennials, well, it's a big deal back in the 70s. Dude, they were promoting the heck out of that. And they made these designs for 2 years, 1975 and 76, which is why you don't have any 1975 quarters or half dollars or dollars. They're all dated for 2 years in a row. They had to write special legislation for that. They were all given the dual date 76, 76. Are they worth saving? Are they worth hoarding? I've seen the Bicentennial quarters sell on eBay for 35 cents in volume. Somebody's got 800 of them. Well, great, you made a dime on 800 of them, but of course eBay takes what do they take, 10%? So of that 5-cent profit, eBay makes 3 of it. They're starting to become a little more valuable over face, but not by much. And this is after 40 years. God, no, 45. What year is this? It's like 47. I don't know how long it is. It's over 40 years. Honestly, you'd want more than a couple of percent return if you're going to hoard things for 40 years. You do better to spend it on spaghetti and a 50-pound sack and save yourself 10% on your spaghetti costs this year. But they can go up, but not fast enough to make it worth your trouble. Seriously, if you're hoarding in order to get a gain on the coins being worth more in the future, look to more collectible coins. Because modern circulated issues, the ones that are typically spent in pocket change, they are so darn common. I don't think they will ever be worth a thing unless they are the top 20 graded specimens, and really maybe the top 10 graded specimens. Anything below, it doesn't pay to get the darn thing certified. Oh, let's catch up over here. Oh, there's a whole bunch of people over here now. I just threw this up for a goof. We got 40 people watching on a, what is it, Monday? Blended Whiskies here. Kim Pride Management, Beth Coddington, Tennessee Wendy, Susan Lee. It's good to see all of you. Why did they schedule me a doctor appointment while the doctor's on vacation? Cindy, you give me that doctor's phone number. I'm gonna call him up and I'm gonna jump on your team and complain. Victoria Roman Carter, it's good to see you. Yeah, just the inflation alone. That's a key. You've got to beat inflation in order to make it worth your while. And a lot of these, you're not going to see it. Some people say, collect the copper, right? The copper pennies. I've got an entire video and a blog article dedicated to don't waste your time trying to save copper pennies. First off, it's illegal. The copper pennies, they've been making those since 1864. Before that, they were copper nickel. Before that, 1855 and earlier, they were 100% copper. Of course, they were about that big around. You're probably not going to find those in pocket change. But the memorials and the wheat pennies, a lot of those are 95% copper. Problem is, they're still blended with zinc or, before 1963, zinc and tin. And it's not cost effective to refine those coins into pure copper, which is useful. So what you got effectively is, 150 million pounds of circulating bronze that it's illegal to melt it down. So do you save copper pennies? Well, they're not really copper, and it's illegal to melt them down. and there are literally warehouses full of the darn things. But if you think that maybe one day in the future the government won't quietly take away all the copper out of circulation, then why don't you go ahead and try saving those? But honestly, that's an exercise in futility, trying to hope for copper values to go up. Honestly, what are we at? $2.50 a pound right now? You would need tens of thousands of pounds. We're talking a warehouse full of copper pennies. Before it's even more, that's a lot of heavy loading. The equipment you would need to handle the volume of pennies that would give you a decent return on investment. You're talking $50,000 for forklifts, steel, industrial strength shelving, the pallets. But good luck with it. If you want to get a gallon jar of the darn things and feel good about yourself, that's all you, man. Okay, so what else do we have in circulation that might be salvageable, might be worth hoarding? There's one thing out there that people hunt for, and that's going to be those die varieties, those errors and varieties. And I got hundreds of these. What's this? No, what's that brown box? I had one here. Okay. Let's see if we can pull one out here. All right. If you learn what to look for, there are things going on in these coins. Where's the screen? Right there. Okay. There are things going on in these coins which can give it a little extra value, but some are worth more than others. What do we got here? 1956. So this is a wheat penny is what we got. All right. You can pull these out of your pocket change. If you go to the bank, get a box of pennies, you probably will find 8 to 20 of these wheat pennies. And you put together 5,000 of them, $50 worth of wheat pennies, you could probably get 150 to 250 bucks for them. Really? Yeah, really. Honestly, they'll give you 3 to 5 cents a piece on these. But then you get this weird stuff, right? If you look right in here, you got something going on here you don't find on every coin. You have what's called die varieties. Okay? In this particular case, we have a chip. A little piece of the die had broken off, right? And then the coin was produced. And because there's this void in the die, you have a little extra metal on the coin. So what you have here is called a die chip. And this is called a BIE because the chip in particular looks like the letter I in between the B and E on Liberty. And you can find these out there. 1995 has several of these. And a lot of them are I got a whole sack of them back here somewhere. That might be one that will grow in value and gain in value. The variety and error aspect of the hobby is really just starting. People have studied these things for decades, but it's only just now, in part because of the social networking and YouTube and the improvement in communications and data dissemination, right, with the internet. They're only just now starting to get the attention, which is going to give them a little more value. Now, this is the kind of thing you can find if you know what you're looking for. But gosh, if you want to go through and look at all the die varieties that you're going to find, good Lord, there's lots of them. Just have to know what to hunt for. How to identify what's different about a coin. Okay, what you got here, this is what you call a repunched mint mark. Right? Now, when producing the die, these things used to be struck in by hand. It was a tool, not unlike, well, that's a screwdriver. There you go. Not unlike a punch or a screwdriver. Typically, instead of plastic, it's going to be steel, square, and with a tiny little end, which is going to put this tiny little letter on the coin. But the mint changed the way the mint marks are added to the die. So you don't see repunched mint marks because they're no longer punched. After 1989, right? 1989, yes. 1990, no more. they cannot exist because they did not punch them in. Okay, here's a scope. There you go. So in this example, this is an older one. You can see two S's, one overlapping another. Okay, so the secondary mint mark, the one that was punched over, is just a little bit, no wait, that way, a little bit to the left, to the west as they call it. What you're going to see, if I can find my little pointer, there it is, over here to the side. And that's it, that little bit. And some of these go for a handsome premium. Rather than spending the time to go through all these coins and sort them out by date and then save a date that, well, probably isn't going to go up in value, why not pick through and get the ones that are going to be a little more valuable? This 1911S with the RPM, this is probably good for 30, 35 bucks in this condition. Better condition, they go up pretty dramatically in price. But modern RPMs, right? You can go through these rolls, and people do it all the time. They go through these BU rolls, but it's got to be before 1990. And it's kind of neat because if you find one, chances are pretty good you'll find bunches of them, and they go for, you know, 3 to 5 to 10 bucks a piece. No fooling. Geez, you could save a date, and maybe in 50 years, that big jar of pennies might be worth, you know, a couple of dollars more. Or you can go hunting for those single coins that are worth $10 right now. Pay attention. Any of this could be used in the big show. It could be. All right, let's find another one here. What's that one? That's that awful SBA. Get rid of her. Where'd the holder go for this thing? There we go. I pull these coins out to look at them, and I never put them away, so the desk gets cluttered with this really cool stuff. All right, let's find another one to be kind of interesting. Here's one. It's not just U.S. coins. Let me zoom out a little. Go back to the scope. What the heck you got there? Look at this one. This is a heck of a peach. If you could use your imagination, you'd be able to see what I'm talking about. But without that, I'll have to focus. Okay, we got a Canadian penny. It's a Canada, real shiner. Here it is. Here it is in real life. That's a peach, ain't it? Now you have this issue that occurred when the dies were coming together to create the coin, right? Because at some point they came together with no planchet, no blank in between. So one die left its mark on the other. And you have this bit going on. You have what's called a hanging two. There it is. And all that is, this little line right here, it's Elizabeth's chin. Because if I turn that over, you're going to see her darn chin right there. Let's turn that over and see. This mark, just that little bit right there, it clashed. Ta-da! There's her chin. And there's a hang. Now, these are upside down compared to U.S. coins. So you have a hanging too. You know, these go for $2 or $3 a piece in this kind of shape. No fooling. Yep. And there are several dates that will have the hanging too. And there are other clashes for U.S. coins that are kind of neat. You got a Franklin $50, right? But it's the wing from the backside hit the obverse, so it looks like he's got Bugs Bunny teeth. All right, let's pull another one out, see what we can see here. Oh, let's see. All right, these are kind of getting a little attention. They don't have a whole lot of value when they're in circulated grades. Here you go. There you go. That's just a 1983 penny, but it's got a die variety. And it's an okay shape, but it's brown. It's been passed around a few times. And you have up here what's called a die crack, where the die that produced the coins, well, it kind of got used real hard and it split. So we have a crack developing. And this one goes from the rim above the T, goes through the T, where are you, and into Abe's head. So they call this a spike head. Does this have much value? Not in this condition, right? Maybe a dollar, right? Honestly, I wouldn't pay a dollar for it unless it was in, you know, uncirculated grade, had all its original red luster, was real pretty. But will it be worth something in the future? Probably not a whole lot. But you know, stuff like this gives you more diversity in your collection. Okay, there's some stuff here. Let's see if I can find a double die. Oh, here's one. What the heck's this one? Oh, this is perfect. You have these things called die chips, just like the BIE, but it's not in the Liberty, right? There's Liberty. This is over here in the date, right there in the second 9. Let's see if we can shine that around. That's a die chip. Several dates. 94 has some with the chip in the date. 1960 has lots of them in the date, sometimes around the back, sometimes over here, like at the bottom of the R. Well, get as many as you can. Now consider this to be more like practice when you're going through circulated rolls looking for these die varieties. Oh, here's one. This is a greaser, is what it's called. This is the kind of stuff you can find. Get away from me. Here we go. I can't work my fingers anymore. I'm getting ham-fisted. Let's go zoom out on this. What's the date here? I don't know. That's a 1990. Kinda. It's kind of starting to miss some of the detail, though. Okay, every now and then in the dies that create the coin, you get the little voids, right? That's going to be the letters, the numbers, Abe's head, maybe a bird or one of these, a building. Well, they got dust, they got debris, they got potato chips, all sorts of things floating around the air. And if you get a little grease or something on the die, right, and all the smashing that happens, it can build up, kind of just build this layer of guck or gack if you prefer. And what happens is you get a strike that's starting to miss some detail because the voids are filled partly. And this is a minor example. You can find them that are really screwed up. I feel pretty good right now. You've been up since 4. I don't know how you do it. I got up about 6 for no darn. I slept for like 10 hours. I was pretty psyched about that. My body likes to sleep sometimes. All right, let's see if I can find another one. I can't read this. Buffalo, Satin, struck through. Okay, don't worry about that. Let's find I should have a double die here somewhere. There's another spiked head. Here's 61 hanging quarter. Let's see. Aha, here's a neat one. You have what are called doubled dies. When the die is being produced, the die is what strikes the coin. You got an obverse die, you got a reverse die, and they slam together to make the coin. But when you make the die, you drive a hub, called a working hub, into the working die. Well, they strike, and then they pull it back and strike it again. But if there's a shift, you're going to have extra metal in your coin. So these start to be a little more sought after. And you'll have a doubled die. And this one will show extra metal if we can get the light just right. Right beside the statue. Somewhere here. I'm having a hard time getting the lighting right. Let's try zooming out. Getting the angle right, getting the focus right, that's always a trick. And finding the darn thing. I'm not going to be able to do it on this thing, but this is a double die, and you'll see it to the left of Lincoln. Yeah, I have to point at this one. Right over here. Okay. When they're in better shape, they can draw a premium. $5, $10, $20. There are better known examples that can fetch scores of dollars, hundreds of dollars in some cases. All right, there are things to look for. Design varieties. I'll be back. Oh, I'll probably be taking off, Hector. I'm finishing up over here. There are design varieties out there. What's that one? There's all kinds of stuff here. Where'd that one go I had? I had a quarter here I wanted to show you. Quarter, 63. There we go. Here's a 1963 quarter, which is a neat example. It's not supposed to have this. Dun, dun, dun. Where are ya? Okay. Here's a 1963 quarter. But the normal design on the business strike would typically see the E and S almost touching. I mean, you're not going to fit, much more than a piece of paper in between there. Well, this is a design that was intended for the proof strike. And here it is on a business strike coin. Okay, so they call that one a type, what, B? RGV number 2 for 1963. This would be FS 901. If you can find one of these in circulation, they're going to be good for 20, 30 bucks. Right? There's a thing called a wide AM on the pennies for 1999, 2000, 98, 99 to 2000, where the space between the A and the M on America is bigger than it ought to be. So here's a different coin altogether, but you're looking at a space in between, right? And again, that's the proof design used on a business strike. Okay, they just made a mistake and used the wrong die. That's a type B reverse, Cindy, on that quarter. That's right. And then there are some dates that have a close AM. It's supposed to be wide, but they have it with a close, and those are worth good money. What do you got here? Aha, here's a neat one. It's a nickel. And if you look closer, you'll find these doubled dies come on other denominations. This is going to be hard to see. I got a great one fellow sent in. I'll get you that in a bit. Now we're looking at some extra metal above the door. If I can put some shadow on that, we may be able to see it. And that's a little extra impression here. This was not the best piece. Where's that one I got from Jeff? It should be here. What? It's purple, right? He's got a great one. Nope. Nope. Where is it? Jeff Stanley sent some in. WDDR. Okay, there's a DDR. We could show you on a quarter. It's here. I swear it's here. Is that the one? Let's look. Get out the way, you. Here's another one where you can see, in just the right light, extra metal in the corner of that doorway. All right. Yeah, the die came together. There's different ways the dies make a doubled, or what the hubs make a doubled die. In this particular case, it came in at a slight angle, started leaving impression, then snapped and finished. So you have extra metal in the upper right corner of the main doorway. Aha. There's another great one here. It's always the last one. Is that the one? Oh, that's the one. Let's look at that one. Ta-da. Here, we've got extra metal going across the doorway, across the door frame. Yeah, that's not streaky or blurry. That's actually the window above the doorway and the top of the doorway, leaving an extra mark. If I can point to it, that'd be a little easier to see. Right there, these two marks. Get that light out of the way. There we go. That's what you're looking for. Kind of neat. There's people that actually collect all these things, and when they're in great shape, like this one from Jeff, ta-da! Yeah, they're worth a few bucks. That's from Jeff Stanley Coins and Octane. He sent that in for the big show. Well, we'll give that away as all. Okay. Let me save these up. What's this one? Another DDR. You know, you don't have to know what particular DDR, what particular feature to look for, as long as you know what the normal design is. And you say, hey man, this one is different from the normal die. And then give it further study. And we see this on the quarter. This is a what is a Saratoga quarter? Is that right? Yeah, 2015. And you see the extra metal on the inside of the sword right there. Now you can pick this up with a decent loop is all you need. And the extra metal here is inside this lower opening in the sword hilt. Would you have known to look for that? Well, just look for what you should see, and when you see something that's different, save it aside. Hoard those. What was this one? You got stuff that struck through X America. Which side is that one? Here it is. Okay, here we go. So we got some weird stuff we see. Here's a nickel, but we got this bit right in there where there's a depression, a void, a cavity on the coin. Okay. Well, to get a cavity on the coin, there's two ways to do it. One is add metal to the die, which doesn't usually happen. And the other way is to put something between the coin and the die and strike through it. And then that bit of potato chip goes away, and you're left with a coin that has a cavity in it. Okay. Now it comes down to determining, is it a struck through or is it damaged? And there are diagnostics which will help you determine that. Yeah, we're working on getting more of those diagnostics available. I picked those with a 10X. There's Jeff Stanley himself. He sent a whole bunch of stuff here. Look how pretty those are. He's the one that picked out that nickel, and that was never discovered before. He submitted that to a fellow named John Wexler, who looks at these things and says, yeah, that's a new variety for sure. Okay, make sure that gets back in its place. What's this one? Here's one. It's one of those clashes. And you can find this stuff if you know not so much the particular detail on each particular date, but if you can pick it out and learn how to identify this sort of thing, you say, aha, I know what that is. Right? You can look and see and tell where it's going to be. Here we got these two extra rectangles. Now there may have been more on this coin, but it's been polished pretty heavily. The die has been polished. But what you have here is again a clash where the two dies came together, nothing in between, and left its mark on each other. What this is the mark from the building. There you go. There's your rectangles. Ta-da, right there. And on this side, you have marks from Abe's vest. Might have his chin up here. Sometimes you'll see his head down in this area. And the sharper those are, the more complete the clash marks are. Oh, that's a double clash. Clash on both dies. Then they can gain more value. Kind of a neat thing. Okay, so really, if you're going to hoard coins, hoard one of everything. Because a lot of these things, they're not going to be worth much in 100 years, man. Really, they're so darn common. Hundreds of millions, billions of them made. They're so darn common, everybody can have, a bunch. The die varieties, yeah, those become pretty scarce real fast. The errors, like the struck through, they're always unique. So it's how expansive, how much of the coin is affected by that particular error that's going to give it more value. Die clash is the hardest thing for me to find. They're out there. Keep at it. A lot of it has to do with experience. For a new collector getting started, honestly, you do well just to get one of every date or maybe a few of every date, and then take the next step, every date and every mint mark, higher grades, right? Fewer and fewer and fewer marks and distractions on that coin. And then as you keep handling the same type of coin, be it a Jefferson nickel or a Roosevelt dime, you'll become familiar with the design, and you'll be better able to examine them and pick out these subtle differences and say, aha, the letters in God We Trust are so much wider than normal. Why is that? And there's a whole school of thought explaining why. Okay, and this is a 10x loop. You can get these for like, you know, $3 to $10, and they do the job. Let's see if I can focus on something. It'll give you 10 times magnification, pretty strong. You get a hold of it like, you know, you get the coin. Give me a coin. You'll be holding it right up close like this, trying to get a look at it. You ever go to the coin show and you see these guys walking around like this? That's what they're doing. They're looking at the particular details there. And hoard the ones that are different. Some of them are going to be kind of common. Some are going to be damaged. Some are going to be, perhaps some dye wear that gives it a different look, right? Because as these things smash together, they get kind of worn out, and you end up with a coin that's a little bit different because the dyes are, you know, they're getting worn out. Well, hold it until you can decide for yourself what's going on in that coin, because there's a lot to it. Let's catch up on the chat here. Well, Kickstar's here. Good to see you. You need to know what to look for and tilt the coin around and you'll find it. Oh, the clashes. Yeah, clashes are kind of common, but it's how extensive the clash is. Is it just a little mark right behind Lincoln's head from the base of the memorial? Or does it have freaking jail bars going across the coin? Those can pick up a bit more value, you know, depending on how extensive it is. So study the coins, and you'll figure it out in time. If you stick with it, you'll start to pick up on what's more valuable, what stands out, what's so darn common it's barely worth its face value. But for the most part, I would say there's not much between 1950 and today that's really going to be scarce in pocket change. Angling, oh, by all means, yeah. There's a whole skill behind using one of these. It's not just look through it, you know. It's not that candy that they use to look through. The hard candy. You ever do that? Look through the hard candy? All right. But look at your coin. Look close. Look real close. Angle it. Change the light. Change the direction of the light, the kind of light. And that can change what you can see over time. There's Brian's World. It's good to see you. Who woke up the dragon? He's always awake. He never sleeps. Just sometimes he's usually playing with a cat. Okay, I hope I exposed you to some new ideas, things you probably haven't heard of, like the S uncirculated, or the Satins, or the W quarters. Where'd that one go? It was here. What's that one? Or those awful SBAs. Where'd that? I had a W. There it is. That's the one from Blues. All right. If you had to hoard something, hoard these. There you go. Get the ones with the W's. Save some of them Bicentennials. Hunt for those proofs and Satins. Now those you're probably not going to find in pocket change. And if you did, being able to pick it out is going to be tough. You know, experience is your friend. I used to take hard candy out of my mouth and look through it. It's okay, Bill. We all do that. I do that. Anybody else? Come on. Hard candy lookers. I like to lick windows. What about silver? Silver, for the most part, is already out of circulation. You can still find lots of it. In 1980, there was a big surge in the value in silver, and a lot of it disappeared because people snatched it up. They took what they had already picked out and sold it off. They melted it down, made jewelry, they made tea sets, they made bars. 1964 and earlier, right, on dimes, quarters, half dollars, and of course your earlier dollars, they'll be 90%. Right? Your half dollars are 40% from 65 through 70. And then you'll have some neat stuff here and there. There's some 40 percenters from 1976, but those usually would not be in circulation. There are some 90 percenters from 1992 to 2018, but those wouldn't usually be in circulation. But from time to time, it makes it in there. There are some nickels from World War II, right? They'll have a, what do they have one here? They'll have a big mint mark, P or D or S, over the dome. They're 35%. Yep. 2009 nickels. Let's look at those. Okay, here's a screen. And I'll take you to the coin collecting checklist. And let's look at the nickels. Can we see the screen all right? I gotta see if I move this around all the time. Okay, there's a coin collecting checklist. At the bottom of this, I've got these tabs, so you can go through 2 cents, 3 cents, drape bust dimes, nickels. Here's Jefferson nickels, 2009. That's these 4 dates, 5. There's P, which is your business strikes, 40 million of them. There's your Satins, 784,000. But you probably won't find those in circulation. You get your D's, 46 million. And you get D Satins, 784,000. Then you got those proofs, 2.1 million. Give me a proof here. I think I got a proof. Well, is 40 million rare? Is 46 million rare? I'm going to take you over here now. Where is that button? Is it that one? No, wait. I've got it open. This is my blog. There you go. 1 Million Pennies Project.blogspot.com. The link is below. And I've got How Rare Is It? There's one in an article from March. And there's 2 scales that I've got side by side. One is by Q. David Bowers, and he put together what he calls the URS, the Universal Rarity Scale. And over on the other side is what PCGS has developed as their rarity scale. And the numbers just kind of go backwards is all. Bowers starts out at 0, which means there's 1. Right? There's URS 0. That coin does not exist. Maybe it did, but it doesn't now. Okay. PCGS at level 1, that is, oh no, wait, their scale is 10. And that's unique. And then it drops from there. 10, 9, 8. Bowers goes up. But the PCGS scale has a descriptive element to it. So you got unique, then you got ultra rare, right, which is going to be 25 or fewer examples. You've got extremely rare, which is 100 examples to 26. Then you got very rare, which is 101 to 200. Then you got rare, which is 1,000 or less. Really? 1,000 surviving specimens is rare? Yeah, pretty much. Above that, you got very scarce. Scarce, common. Over 1 million, that's very common. So of all the coins I've talked about, let's see, most of the Satins would qualify as being, well, common or less, right? All the proofs are going to be very common, unless you get back before the mid-50s. Everything produced for business strikes are going to be very, very, very common. So darn common, they're never going to be worth a darn thing. But one thing that stands out from what I talked about is the die varieties. Because a lot of those, you might only have a couple of thousand specimens, which starts to get into the rare category. They're few and far between. If you're finding a lot of them, well, chances are you're either going through brilliant, uncirculated, brand new, originally bank-wrapped rolls, or you're misidentifying them. But rare coins are rare for a reason. There aren't that many of the darn things. But it's a sure bet that the modern circulating coinage is quite common indeed. Okay, let's get back to the chat. There we go. Find my little thing so I can straighten that out. There we go. Any questions? Because I'm going to finish this up. I've got to run downtown for a bit, take care of a couple of errands, probably get some lunch ready. Bill says, isn't there a rarity scale? Yes, we just looked at it. You'll find that on my blog, and the blog is written down below. And that's from March. Where's my satin nickel? Oh, oh. Wait for it. Okay, this large package, this little thin line right there, that's your satin nickel. And this is all the mail it has to go, right? That's yours. It's made it over. It's made it off the desk though. "50 feet of snow." You can have that. Move to Florida. There is no snow. We don't have property tax. Cost of living is low. We got great sunshine. And dude, wait till you go to the beach. You'll say, why didn't I move here years ago? Josh Wright in here? There he is. Good morning, Josh Wright. Yeah, it's safe. He'll get there. Take good care of it, Ken. I sure will. All right, guys. I want to thank you for stopping in and making me tear stuff up. What's this doing out? I don't know what this coin is. I'll leave it right here. There we go. I hope we learned something. Look, if you like this sort of thing, give it a thumbs up. And don't be afraid to share the link to this video with all those people in your social networks. 5 to 7 inches of snow. Man, you guys stay warm. Forget about stay groovy. Stay warm. I'm going to take off, guys. Thanks for coming in.